To meet you today, Jared. My name is Christopher Castañeda. Um, I'm third year at UC Merced, going in, with the background in what management, business, and economics. But before we kind of get into anything, I actually wanted to just, share with you a little bit how, yes, I know you're interested in the business opportunity, but, I want this meeting to kind of be like, I'd say more casual. I don't want it to be something like an interview or like, very formal. I just,
Yeah,
want to just get to know you, see if our goals, if our values align. And, also, potentially introduce you to my business partner, see if he's, available to actually meet you. But, yeah, I mean, how does that sound?
that sounds good to me. I mean, it's good to kind of get the tone of everything and understand what we're trying to do first.
No, yeah, definitely, definitely, yeah. So, I mean, pretty much, I just want to get to know you first. I want you to get to know me, just because what we were complete strangers, just a few seconds ago. So, yes, I'm a real person. I'm not a robot just sending messages. But, yeah, I mean, it's, great to actually, finally meet you, Jared. But yeah, I mean, I kind of just wanted to share a little bit about myself, before we kind of, get into things, just so you kind of, know who I am, get a more clear understanding of, why I'm doing this. But yeah, I mean, how does that sound, Jared?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, like I said, I'm going into my third year with the, um, background in management, business, and economics. I do have some like some working experience with like banking and finance, but I'd say what like really like inspired me, kind of motivated me to want to actually start my business about a year ago was not just personal development, not just wanted to professionally develop myself, but really wanted to actually give back to my family. Um,
Mhm.
and that being because if I'm being completely honest with you, just a year ago I was a completely different person. You might see me now, I might sound a bit confident, the way I dress, the way I carry myself, my attitude, it's a lot more positive than it was about what my first year in college and even before that. So if I kind of like, tell you that little story real quick, you know, yes, I came back from like an immigrant background. My parents came to this country when they were very young. And so, all they really know what to do is pretty much just work. But, growing up, seeing that, seeing my parents work so much, two to three jobs, it was just very kind of, I don't want to say sad, but it was kind of like, it kind of hurt me because, like what I'm growing up, I don't spend that much quality time with my parents, so I'm kind of like, man, I miss them. But, kind of throughout, going throughout like my life growing up, I always wanted to help people. I always wanted to help my parents. I always wanted to be able to give back to them. But my actions never aligned with what I wanted to do. And so, I actually ended up hurting my parents a lot. I ended up taking a lot away from my parents, a lot of their time, a lot of their efforts and their emotions, things like that. And I'd say like a significant, part that happened in my life was actually when I was only 15 years old. I was what, a freshman in high school, and I remember it was like almost New Year's. It was like around Christmas break, and I actually ended up getting arrested. And so, because I got arrested at 15, I was, obviously it impacted my parents a lot, but being the middle child, they didn't like, expect that from me. But I mean, I didn't even expect that for myself. I was at the wrong place at the wrong time, hanging around with the wrong people. And so I kind of always found myself stuck in this loop of, trying to fit in, trying to be cool, and try to, like do things that other people, are like, so I can also be, recognized and be known. But it didn't really lead me anywhere positive. It didn't lead me anywhere, you know, that had like a bright side to it. And so, I say throughout that, I ended up getting arrested on New Year's Eve or New Year's, which kind of sucked because there was like what fireworks going off, and I'm in the back of a police car, and I'm like, man, this isn't the life I want to live. So after that, I ended up getting expelled from my school because it was like vandalism to like this other like little school community there, and so they just expelled me. Had to go to a continuation school. Yes, I got out after like a weekend, like 2 or 3 days, but pretty much like moral of the story was that I had a lot of responsibility at a very young age. I'm like, man, I'm 15 years old. I got to get a job now. I'm working at Baskin Robbins, scooping ice cream for like $12. And my friends are all there hanging out. And I'm over here, 15 years old, riding my bike to work, having to ride my bike to a different city just to go to a continuation school. Why? Because my parents didn't want to take me because I made that mistake, so I have to deal with it. But I like to tell people that, I feel like that, maturity doesn't come with age, but it comes with responsibility. And so at 15, I had just a lot of responsibilities with bills and things like that. And I'm like, man, this isn't fun. I don't like this. but I had to deal with it. And so after that, my mom, she really saw something. My mom was like, Chris, I know you're not a bad kid. You just hang around with bad people. So we're going to do something. You're probably not going to like it, but it's for the best. She moved me school districts, which kind of sucked, but it ended up, working out in my favor because not once in my life did I ever think about wanting to go to college. I just actually wanted to work like two jobs, get a nice car. Why? Because I saw my brother do that. He finished high school, he worked two jobs day and night, got himself a nice BMW. But what I didn't realize at the time was that he only drove that BMW to and from work. And I'm like, man, I don't want that lifestyle. I don't want to just be a slave to my job and not be able to, have the time, have the freedom to enjoy the things I want. So, looking back at that now, I'm like, I don't really want that. So, yes, when I went to, this new high school, I took this class called Avid. Not sure if you're familiar with it or not. But I was actually able to meet one of my teachers there. And yeah, very similar to you. She had her PhD and teaching was her passion. She liked to do that a lot. So she was teaching at the high school, because she passionately liked to do it. And, we called her Dr. LB. And because of that, she saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. She was like, Christopher, you're very outgoing, you're very ambitious, you're extroverted, you love to talk to people. Have you ever thought about college? And I'm like, oh, nah, like I'm not gonna do that. Like I'm not gonna pay to go to, to study for 4 more years. Like I'm already doing K through 12, like I don't want to just study my whole life. But what I didn't know was really like the underlying factor of why she was like sharing that with me. She was like, Christopher, it's not so much about what you know, but it's about who you know. It's about the connections you can make. It's about the people you can meet. And so when she kind of shared that with me, I'm like, oh, you know what? You're right. Like she kind of made me like think about actually like wanting to have a career, wanting to like actually do something with my life. And so after that, I'm like, you know what? I have this amazing opportunity. My parents came to this country, you know, very young age. I'm like, what? My mom at 7, my dad at 17, and they've just been working their whole lives. They've been telling me, they want me to go to college, but I really didn't want to follow just them. So I was like, you know what? Let me go to college for myself. Let me want to like learn about something. And so I was like, you know what? UC Merced, the only UC accepted me with like a 3.4 GPA, and because of that, I was like, you know what? They offered me the best financial aid package. Why not give it a shot? So I went to Merced, and it's like a 3 hour drive. I'm actually from the Bay Area, like around here. It's like a 20-minute drive from SF, but it was like a 3 hour drive to Merced. So I'm like, man, it's a big decision moving out with my parents. But same old Christopher came back into play. I went there my first year, partying, drinking, smoking, just a bunch of whole crazy stuff that, typical college student the first year. I wanted to experience things. I wanted to go to parties. I wanted to just do all these crazy things. I lived in the dorms. I was in El Portal. But I don't know, something just didn't feel right. I'm like, man, I have these goals. I have these dreams. I have these ambitions. I share them with my friends, but they just put me down. They don't understand me. They don't have dreams of their own. They don't have goals of their own. So I started to question, like, why am I surrounding myself with these people that don't want to do anything more for themselves? And, they never really sat right with me because, you know, like it was just like hard, like, because yes, I like that short term gratification. I like having fun, with these friends, like going out, things like that. But I wanted to change. I wanted to do something for myself because ever since I was young, I always had like this like hustler ambition. I like to call it like immigrant ambition, because
Mm-hmm.
I was always a kid known like at the elementary school, at the middle school for carrying a little duffel bag with me, carrying an extra backpack, selling candy, chips, you name it, whatever it was, I was selling it, and I was doing that because you know. I always try to like find a way to make another quick buck because I never like really asking my parents for money because yes, maybe they could have provided for me, but I didn't like having to ask them, for money because I just knew it wasn't something that we were always, so, we never had an abundant of it. And so pretty much just, I'd say growing up, I've always kind of had like this like entrepreneurial mindset of thinking of ways to make money. Like when it came to fidget spinners, things like that, like whenever it was like the little trend going on, I was on that. But,
Mm-hmm.
I ended up just bringing that to me to college and I was like, you know what, let me do something different. I joined business society. I became the director of entrepreneurship department, and I was like, you know what? I really want, to like start my own business. And I was learning about it. I learned how to dress like a business owner. I learned how to act like a business owner. I learned how to carry myself like a business owner, how to speak like a business owner. But I was like, man, I'm not a business owner. I don't have my own business. I'm just missing that. And so that's actually when my business partner, Tona, he actually reached out to me on LinkedIn because of my professional LinkedIn profile, because of my experience that I had, and because of my position at Business Society. I was like, man, It's like a sign from God. It's like, oh, a business opportunity, and like learning and like working on myself how to be a business owner. Like this is awesome. Let me go for it. And so yeah, just like I reached back out to him. I'm like, hey, I want to learn about this. What's it about? Can you give me some more information? I'm curious. I want to learn about it. So just like you and I today, we hopped on a meeting, and yeah, I mean, just what, almost a year, and I've been able to run my own e-commerce and franchising business. But I mean, yeah, that's a little bit about me. Kind of just been able to switch my like life around. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to hear from you, Jared.
Mm. I really liked your explanation of where you come from, your background, and everything, and all the trials. We all have our own tribulations and things like that, and it really shapes who we end up becoming in
Of
the end.
course. Yeah.
Uh, I could talk a little bit about myself if you're comfortable with that.
No, yeah, of course, Jared, I am.
I think I've put a little bit on my profiles, but I'll give you a little better idea from it. So for the most part, I really just grew up with my mom, me and my
Mm.
little brother. It's only 2 years younger than me. Uh, it's hard to imagine as a little brother now, but you know, uh, she would always be working, not multiple positions, but we would see her struggling and everything to put us through school. She didn't complete high school. Her parents had come here from Mexico.
Mm.
My grandparents on my father's side also same thing came here from Mexico. So I'm very proud to be the grandchild, and hopefully respect some of the culture and bring that with me as I go out into the world and kind of show people who I am. But for the most part, it was just the three of us and my aunts, uncles, everything. They would help raise us.
Mm.
So when it came time to finish high school, they would always tell me when you go to college.
Mm.
So I think it's a little uh, different because most people say if you go to college, they would always tell me when you go to
Like
college
when? Yeah.
to kind of build that confidence, saying this is a place that I belong to
Mm.
and should be pursuing. And then, like UC Merced was one of the only colleges that ended up accepting me because of their financial aid. I really did not want to be a burden on my family, so
Likewise.
I ended up going, and then I completed my bachelor's there, and then in my second year, I asked one of my first teachers in bioengineering, is there anyone who does bioimaging? Because that was the one thing that I thought was interesting, building scanners, working with scanners. Uh, Mainly because it's a little personal. My grandfather had passed away because he had an arrhythmia in his heart. So he had a
Mm.
heart attack and he passed away in the house. So I felt like with my intelligence, I should be doing something similar to help people who would maybe go through that, maybe prevent that for them.
Mm.
So that's why I got interested in bioimaging. And then as soon as I could ask about it, I asked who has a lab that does that. That
Mm.
led me to my future PI, Dr. Chong Ching Lee, who's there at the school. And then my graduate studies, throughout undergrad, I met him, attended his lab meetings, got involved when I could, and then pursued my graduate studies with him. Recently graduated with that, and now I'm looking for other things that I can also pursue because this is the first time I've kind of been able to decide the course of what I do
Mm.
for first time in almost 10 years. And I mean, I love the science.
Okay.
I'm a scientist at heart, but I'm also realistic with, there's a lot of change that goes on with everything. So that's why I was more attracted to what you were saying about diversifying and having something that's more of your own or learning the skills to make something your own.
Mm.
Uh, for myself, what I enjoy as, passion, I don't really find it to be like work
Mm.
or things like I like to write,
Mm. Okay.
particularly fiction, but I like writing. I also enjoy there's one more recreation, but there is ways that I've seen people kind of like write for it and then sell the ideas for I think you've heard of Dungeons and Dragons before.
Oh yeah, yeah, I've heard of that before.
There's a place where you can kind of like make your own ideas for the game and then kind of sell them under your own name so people know it comes directly from you. It's an original idea.
Yeah.
and I've also enjoyed teaching because I taught all 5 years
There you
while
go.
doing my graduate degree. So tutoring, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Those are really like the three avenues that I could really think of as far as what I know how to do and what I enjoy doing is that are traditionally separate from what I do as my studies and what I've been educated on how to perform. Not so much with the tutoring. The tutoring all comes from what I do know, what I taught before.
Mm. Okay. Oh yeah. So I mean, I've seen that you have a lot of experience, obviously. Like when it comes to, like the educational system. Um, but I mean, I'm kind of curious, Jared. Like what made you want to actually what after like after you got your bachelor's, go and continue like going for like the full 5 years.
But what I wanted to do with graduate studies?
Yeah, like graduate studies, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I already enjoyed doing what I had done before, but I found in my undergraduate I did not have the specialization or
Mm.
additional experience that would be typical of someone who was in one of these, science fields. So I thought that, doing a PhD, get some of those research skills, really learn how to get to the root of solving problems that are just problems that appear instead of this is a problem I gave to you from a book. Solve it. We
Yeah.
know the answer. More of tackling challenges that are not written down, things that are completely new, finding something and creating or contributing to the field in some way. And that's
Mm.
something I could really only see myself um, doing immediately if I were to do my graduate studies. Whereas if I were to go directly into something like industry, I'd have
Mm.
to just hope that I got onto a project that kind of aligned with what I want to do.
No, yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I should really appreciate you sharing all this, because you shared a lot of personal things that you went through, but also like a lot of I feel like it's important information for me to also to understand kind of why you kind of wanted to pursue it, why like your passion for writing, and I'm sorry about what happened to your grandfather, but I think that's really amazing actually how like you're kind of using like a life experience and you're actually turning it into something positive, and you actually want to help others, not just um, like do it what like for like the profit, but actually put people before profit, and that's actually something that we stand for as well. But yeah, I mean, I know I mentioned that I actually wanted to connect you with my business partner. He's actually someone that's from what San Jose State, sorry, San Jose State University, and
Mhm.
he's actually the one who actually introduced this business opportunity to me and kind of connected me with what my business coaches, my mentors, and he's actually in the waiting room now. So I'm actually gonna admit him just because I want him to. I want you to get to know him as well. But let me see if he was able to join. Yes, he's in. Okay. No, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, like I was saying, his name is Tona. He has a background, same thing as me, business administration and finance, I believe, business finance. And, he's actually the one who actually helped me with this, business opportunity and kind of, shed light on it to me. And he pretty much walked me through the process because I know that's something that said you were interested in, what diversifying, learning something new. And the same was for me, because yes, I wanted to be a business owner, but honestly didn't know what it took to be a business owner. I didn't know what skills, what things I would need to be a business owner because I just said I wanted to do it, but man, saying something and actually doing it's a lot different. And
Mhm.
so yeah, I mean, Tona, if you I mean could just introduce yourself a little bit. I was just talking to Jared and getting to know him a little bit more. Shared with him my story, and he was kind of sharing to me his story, kind of like his upbringing and things like that.
Hey, it's nice to meet you, Jared. How's it
Nice to meet you,
going?
Tim. Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Where you calling in from?
I'm in Fresno right now. I
Oh,
recently got married, so I got married to a woman from Fresno, so
uh-huh.
we have a little place here.
Okay. Oh, wow, that's great to hear. You said recently, right? How recent?
Congratulations.
Uh, just a little over 3 months. Thank you.
A little over 3 months. Wow, it's great to hear. And you moved into Fresno? Were you always from Fresno?
No, I was from the San Fernando Valley
Oh,
originally, Somar
I
and
see.
San Fernando area.
I see. Okay. It's great to hear. Yeah, we actually just came back from Fresno. Me and Chris, we actually just did a drive over there. I'm over here from the Bay Area. I'm living in San Jose right now. Um, so yeah, yeah. But tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so like I was explaining to Christopher, I first generation for
Uh huh.
college in my immediate family. Uh, it was really just my mom who raised me with her sisters and uncles and everyone pitching in. Uh, but they said always try to push to me
Mm-hmm.
go to college. When you go to college, not if you go to college. So that's why I kind of pursued an undergraduate degree at UC Merced. They accepted me, very generous financial aid there.
Uh huh.
Uh, didn't want to burden them too much with college and financials and things like that. So
Right.
thankfully UC Merced was there, and then uh, did my undergraduate in bioengineering. Did the
Mm-hmm.
PhD because I wanted to really get a specialization
Mm.
or to really understand how to problem solve when there's no easy solution that you can reference to.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And
Wow. Yeah. Go ahead.
oh, sorry, that's pretty much most of like the academic side of things.
Uh
But
huh.
I was talking to Christopher because I was interested in learning how to diversify and really understand how you build the skills to show something that's your completely your own or grow
Mm.
something that's completely your own.
Okay. Yeah, that's great to hear. So you graduated from UC Merced, right? You said in
Mhm.
biomed.
Uh, Quantitative and systems biology, my undergraduate was bioengineering.
Oh, bioengineering. Okay. Yeah, and then you went ahead and got a PhD. And how long did that take you?
5 years.
5 years. Okay, and you're all graduated now, right?
Yeah, recently.
Recently. Okay. Are you working right now?
No, so I'm just in that process of making connections,
Uh-huh.
really trying to get an understanding of what it's like to do these roles, um, learn how people do the roles that I'm interested in doing in the future, and then
Mm-hmm.
getting to know people who do something similar to what I want to do or what might want to do in the future.
Okay. Let me ask you, what do you look? What are you looking? What are you planning on doing?
So right now I don't really have anything that I'm too set in stone just because of the nature of the way that everything is right now.
Uh-huh.
But through my PhD stuff, I've been able to build skills with a lot of different programming languages, got very familiar with data and manipulating it, as well as all the whole artificial intelligence thing.
Mm.
But what I'm most interested in is working with bioinformatics.
Mm.
So like using proteins and
I
software
see.
to interact with proteins, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great to hear. Have you done like any internships or anything, to help get you closer to something like that?
Unfortunately, no. Most of my time that
Uh-huh.
I had free was really spent on continuing the research because it's more time consuming. But
Mm-hmm.
what I had to frequently check in on it, so there wasn't
Mm.
too much opportunity
Mm.
uh, to do that all at the same time.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I can kind of get what kind of situation you're in right now. So, I mean, really quickly, I just want to ask, what made you curious enough? What made you want to sit down, here in this meeting with Chris and myself today?
So Chris had presented to me the that you what you're really doing is supplying these mentorships that allow others to understand what it takes or what skills you would need to build something that's of your own. And as for what I know and have interest in, are things like that are completely unrelated to my actual studies, more like hobbies
I see.
that I explained to Christopher. So one of them being writing. I usually write fiction
Uh-huh.
in my free time. Also, have a hobby of doing Dungeons and Dragons. So there are places where you can like design things for that and then
Uh-huh.
kind of sell the idea off, as
Mhm.
well as tutoring. Because I mean, I taught all 5 years of my
Wow.
my PhD, so I gotten pretty used to interacting with others, making connections to them, and helping them understand things that are new to them.
Okay. No, yeah, that really makes me curious. If you're someone who's so passionate about writing, why didn't you go into journalism? Or if you're so passionate about teaching, then why didn't you go into, that education degree?
So for those two, I love writing, but I
Uh-huh.
didn't want to make writing the only thing that I could do because
Mm,
you never really know what's going to happen in the future.
right.
So because of that, I wanted something that I could really show and make, something that's tangible to most
Uh-huh.
people, that they would take more, I guess, not seriously, but they could understand it concretely by saying, oh, I'm in science, I'm in biology,
Mm,
as opposed to I write short horror fiction,
uh-huh.
or this is my horror story, this is the premise of that story. For education, um, I actually didn't know if I would make a good teacher at the end of
Mm,
my undergraduate. And it wasn't until I started TAing and doing some courses that were optional at the university that I was really comfortable with it. And then, each year getting more and more TA experience, I I'm not afraid to talk anymore.
uh-huh.
I was wondering if I would be okay with volunteering and then being up in front of the
Uh-huh.
class, but after a time, I kind of grew out of that pretty soon, especially with Zoom
Right.
format that the
Yeah.
first 2 semesters were taught in due to COVID. But no, it was just something I didn't know if I would be good at or passionate about until I was in that role.
Mm, okay. Yeah, no, that's great to hear. I kind of got a good idea of like your plan, what you've been wanting to do, and I guess a little bit about what business means to you, right? Because you're saying that you wanted to build like this tangible thing, this result that someone can look at. But what has that been for you? You know what I mean? Like why business out of all things?
For the most part, just something that I can say is completely mine.
Mm,
For example, or how this relates to me, I have an uncle who does sound engineering.
mm,
He's consistently talking to people, and I always saw that he enjoyed what he was doing.
okay.
Um, and I wondered, is there a way I can do that, even if it's part time or not really applicable to what I
Uh huh.
was educated in, where I can say, okay, I will have this meeting, I will be able to talk to these people and show my interest in this thing that may not I show who I am as a scholar, but show who I am as a person,
Mm,
so
mm-hmm.
that I don't have to just have this one aspect to myself where I'm about just I am someone
Right.
who's familiar with this computer program or this computer program.
Uh huh.
It's I'm a person who has training in this, education in this, but also has a passion to do other things as well.
Mm,
Much
okay.
similar to how you would have, you go to your dentist's office and you see that they're out hunting or something like that.
Yeah. No, I kind of get what you mean. So it kind of sounds like you've been looking to kind of like build these skills that'll help you in kind of every aspect of your life, really, right? Because I can tell right now, for me, I started my business back when I was 18 years old in my first year of college at SJSU. Right now, I'm finishing up my degree right now over here at SJSU in finance. I work in sales right now. I plan on going into banking. But to be honest, all the way back when I was 18 years old, I could already look ahead and predict what my situation would look like. How, regardless if I had all these clubs, all these experiences, I started working when I was very young. Regardless of anything that I had, I knew how hard it would be to find a job. It's kind of the situation you're in right now, regardless of what major you're in, regardless of what you have, what experiences, what it says on your resume. I've seen master's students struggling to find a job. And I mean, I can tell from you, PhD students struggling to find a job because at this point, nobody is just looking at your education to hire you at this point, right? It's all about experiences. It's all about skills. It's all about, these things that you did on the side. And that's what people look at to determine what makes you stand out from any of the other applicants for that job. Because, I mean, what makes your resume different from somebody else's? They probably have more work experience, or maybe they probably, had more connections, or maybe they have more skills on it. They're looking at all these different things. And I like what you said earlier. Only area. I'm Pony. Why would anyone want you? To hire you? Everyone would want, the guy who's more versatile, the guy who can be more applicable and adaptable in more situations. So that's why I saw this mentorship, kind of change someone like Chris, and shape us into the people we are today. But that wasn't the biggest reason why I wanted business. Sure, I can look up 5, 6 years ahead, me struggling to find a job, even if I found one, right? Who said I'm going to keep it? With all these layoffs, with all this outsourcing, another pandemic, another economic crash, everyone loses their job. I can look ahead and see these things. I can also look ahead and see that even if I had kept this successful job in banking or in sales, just having that wouldn't allow me to stay here in California, especially here in the Bay Area. Like I know you said you're in Fresno right now. I know Chris is up here in the Bay Area with me, but just California as a whole, it's just so expensive, right? I mean, just I see my parents struggle and living paycheck to paycheck their whole lives, and the second I can start working, well, I help them pay bills, I help them pay rent, and the thing is that the prices are only going up. So I understood that if I just did my undergraduate degree and nothing else, it wouldn't get me anywhere. Even if I pursued my master's, which I don't plan on doing, but let's say I did, I don't think that would give me any upper hand getting me a job and making me successful in the future. I mean, the way I define successful is different for everybody, but for me, it's the type of life I want to live. And that life for me is a combination of money, time, and peace of mind. Those are the things I'm looking for in life. So when I look at the long list of majors and I see how engineering would put you in a 9 to 5 forever, how the medical field will, put me in the books my whole youth. And then when I'm finally out of it working, it's the rest of my life like that. Same thing for banking, right? Same thing for sales. These are all things that people don't look at. I decided to pick the business major because I saw the business owner lifestyle is the only one that can give you money, time, and peace of mind. And then I found out that they don't teach you that at school. They don't teach you how to run a business. You're not learning by someone who has a successful source of passive income. I'm learning by an employee. I'm learning by a teacher. And you know what? Those type of things never sat right with me. So if I always knew that if I wanted to get ahead in life, I needed to go somewhere else. I needed to look for something or someone else that'll help me get to a better point in life. And that's why I value mentorship so much. And I wanted to ask you, do you have any experience before when it comes to mentorship?
I've worked with several undergraduate students in the lab, and of course, I've been mentored myself by a few different individuals. Of course, my PI and the Oathburg graduate student who had taught me when I had just joined. A few of them actually. Uh, One of them who I just been talking to recently, learning a little bit about how he's been doing.
Oh, wow.
And right now, he's also in Fresno. He does medical physics. So it's very interesting. But as far as mentors, and well, being a mentor, I've helped at least 5 or 6 of our not undergraduates. Some of them are undergraduates, some of them are other students who are also in the PhD or master's program.
I see. Yeah. Are you still in touch with them at all?
Yeah, I still occasionally speak to them because it's only been very recently. One of them did switch to a different lab, but we still kept in touch.
I see.
Most of them have graduated and kind of gone their own way, but I still have their contact.
Let me ask you, what does it? What do you look for in a mentor? Like out of all those people you just talked about right now, what about them made you call them your mentor?
They did not try to sell me an idea of what things should be. They told me
Mm-hmm.
these are the skills that you should try to have and apply to yourself or learn for yourself so that you can always be on top of what the next big change could be.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say, oh, this is what you need to learn. Now that's all the only thing we're going to do, or the only thing that you should need to know how to do. They said,
Mm-hmm.
well, this is where things are headed. Try to learn these now so that when people are looking for others with those same skill sets, you can say, I've been doing this already.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just curious. I'm just trying to get a little bit of a reference point on, who you listen to, what type of advice you take, and how exactly your filtering, kind of looks like. Because I mean, advice is free. Opinions are free everywhere in this world, and there's a lot of them going around. But then it's so kind of funny to see how people just blindly take advice, blindly listen to people. So I really want to understand from someone what their standard of a mentor is. Like for example, if I was single, would you listen to my relationship advice?
No,
No way, right? Or if Chris was 500 pounds, would you listen to his advice on how to get fit?
probably not.
No way, right? Because we're not credible, right? So the number one thing I look for in a mentor is someone who has what I want,
Mm.
someone who has what I'm looking for. Because I also have a lot of experience with mentors, these counselors, my mom, my dad, all these friends that are helping me, in college. But to be honest, I never listened to any of them
Mm.
because not one of them had what I was looking for. What I'm looking for is like I said, a life of money, time, and peace of mind, financial freedom. I saw my friends broke, stuck in car payments. Who am I to listen to them? I see
Mm.
my parents working 9 to 5 their whole lives. I know sure, I love them. They've done everything for me up to this point. But to be honest, I don't think they're very credible on giving me advice about my future and my finances. Same thing for my counselors or my teachers. If I wanted to be a teacher, if I wanted to work as a counselor, sure, I would probably listen to them. But at the end of the day, like I said, my goal is to be financially free. And unfortunately, not all of us have someone like that. Like, let me ask you, do you know anybody who lives a life of money, time, peace of mind?
Personally, I don't think so.
No, you're right. And if they are, they're probably like what, 60, 70 years old.
I think the only individual I could think of already over 70.
Yeah,
So,
Mm.
exactly, right? But well, when I think of money, time, and freedom, what do I want to use that time for? To spend with my family.
Mm-hmm.
It's to do the things that I love. You said you like, what was it, Dungeons and Dragons, right? For me, I was a big I didn't really play video games that much. I like a lot of Minecraft though. That was my favorite game.
Yeah.
I kind of haven't been playing it that much, but I want to do those things. Right? I want to spend time with my family. I want to go, have fun in the world. Go run around, go play sports. But if I'm 70 years old, I'm not gonna have the energy to do that. I don't even know if my family will be here for me to enjoy that with them. And that's something I always feared in this life that one day my parents aren't going to be here anymore. And what have I done to give back to everything they've done for me?
Mm.
So that's why right now, like looking at me, and Chris, like 20 years old, college students, this is the time where people are out there having the times of their lives, just living in the moment. But what I respect the most about Chris and a lot of people that we talk to is they have different values than those people out there. Is that we're focused on freedom, on luxury, on financial freedom. And that's why you see people like us working really hard right now. It's time we're supposed to be having fun and things like that to really get ahead in life. And that's why when we're looking for business partners, it's really important that I know Chris may have told you that we're not looking for anybody with most credentials, the highest education, with the most work experience, with years and years of running business. No, I'm looking for someone with the right character, someone with the right attitude, someone with integrity, accountability, communication, someone who has that willingness to learn and to be mentored. And all of those things I didn't have until I met my mentor. And I don't know, has Chris told you a little bit about our mentor?
Uh, I don't recall. I'm
Not
sorry if
much.
they did.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But I mean, it's pretty hard to forget because this guy, when I saw him for the first time, it was at a huge business conference down in SoCal. And I heard him tell his story on the stage, how he came to this country just like my mom and my dad, with no money, with no English. But unlike my mom and my dad, he wasn't living paycheck to paycheck. He was financially free. He retired himself at 22 years old, building his business.
Hmm.
I was like, damn, that's pretty crazy. I mean, do you know anyone who was able to retire that young?
I can't say that I do.
No, I can't either, right? The only time I really see it is like on social media,
Right.
right? Like these TikTok kids or these YouTube guys, right? And it's just like, it doesn't seem real. But I heard the struggle that he went through. He actually came from Vietnam, which is like South Asia, I think. Came from Vietnam, no English, no money, worked at a pho restaurant. And against all odds, against the situation that he was in, just like me, he got out of it. So I always respected him for that, but most importantly, I want to know what he did. I wanted to know how he did it. I wanted to know who he learned from, so I can have what he has. Another thing I wanted to know was what exactly he was doing. Because when I heard how he retired himself at 22 years old, I'm over here thinking he's some type of scammer. Right? I'm over here thinking he's swiping credit cards or he's doing something illegal or something because I don't know anyone who's able to achieve something like that so young. So my first assumption was that he's probably doing something shady behind the scenes. But because I went to that event in person, I had the opportunity to ask him. Since him and my business coach, she was the one I met at San Jose State over there my first year of college, they knew each other. They had connections. So she was the one who helped me sneak around backstage that day so I can get to talk to him. Any question I got to ask someone that successful, and that's exactly what I asked him. I asked him, hey Phil, I saw the results you created in this business. I respect what you did with your business, but I really need to know that as long as what you're doing is legal, as long as what you're doing is ethical, can you teach it to me? Can you show me? Can I learn what you did so I can have what you have? And you want to know what he told me? He said,
Elevator.
well, I'm going to ask you the same question he asked me. He said, hundreds of people ask me that same question every single event. So what makes you different from everybody else?
Hmm.
In a room full of professionals, people way done with their college careers, way well into their regular careers, I was sitting there as the first year in college with my tie not even on right. And he asked me what made you different from everyone else. I absolutely froze. I absolutely did not know what to say. Right? Because think about it. What made me different? I mean, what would you say to that?
I mean, when you said it to me, I froze me in my tracks too.
Yeah.
But
right?
the only thing I could think of
Uh
is I can't rest until I know.
huh. Uh huh.
Right? It'll eat at me. It won't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can't move on basically until I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can relate with that. You know what I mean? Because if it wasn't, excuse me, like I said, if it's a resume, there's someone with more on the resume. If it's a skill, there's someone who has more skills. If it's my experience, there's someone who has more experience. If I say I'm a hard worker, they say I know someone who works harder.
Hmm.
So I feel like I didn't have any upper hand. But then when I asked him what it was that he was looking for in a business partner, how I could make myself stand out, that's when he told me what were those things that he looked for. And again, it wasn't the tangibles, it was the attitude, the character. It was who this person was, because at the end of the day, what me and Chris are doing, we're building a long-term asset. This isn't something that, gets someone, rich overnight. No, there's no such thing as that, right? From my past experiences, I used to do day trading. I used to do
Mm,
drop shipping. I started a clothing brand, some of my friends. And what I learned from those experiences is that people are very quick to leave you. People are very quick to walk away from something. People are very quick to tell me that they're serious about building a business, they're serious about making passive income, just for me to never hear from them again in a month. So I really knew I had to raise my standards and what I look for in a business partner. And I realized that all those things that my mentor Phil looks for are the same things that I look for.
mm.
And you think all of those things are something I can tell from someone in just one meeting?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. No, you're right. Absolutely not. Because, like I said, one day someone says this, the other day they're doing something else. So that's kind of the reason why we take people through a selection process to kind of really evaluate them, but at the same time, so you can evaluate me. So you can evaluate Chris, so you can evaluate my mentor, and really ask yourselves, are these people, do I want to surround myself around them? Are they speaking the right things? Do we have the same values? Do I agree with what they're saying? Because for me, I feel like trust is the biggest thing when it comes to partnership. Our business or whatever we're working on, all the skills, everything on the side, I'm really focused on understanding, getting to know the person sitting across from me. I thought you may have noticed so far. I don't know how long you guys have been in the Zoom meeting, but I don't think you and Chris have talked so much about business. I don't know, have you?
Not really, no.
Not really, right? Because I know Chris has, the same method as me, is that, before even talking to someone about what we do and how it can align with your goals, I first want to understand the person sitting across from me, right? So I know I was talking for a while, but now I kind of wanted to ask you, as someone who's already graduated, who's already, got their PhD and looking to get in the work field, right?
Mhm.
Already married, you say you just moved to Fresno, right? Let me ask you, what makes you want to look for more? At this point in people's lives where they're starting to settle down, I heard a lot of my parents or other parents say that they couldn't pursue their dreams once they got married or once they settled down in their career. When I never agreed on that. I don't ever think there's a limit on anybody, but people always take it as one. So as someone like you who's starting to get in that type of phase in their life, what makes you want to look for more, at this point right now?
For myself, you know, I've always thought I'm always going to be learning. It's good to always learn, whether it's, a skill that you can apply to a job, skill that you could apply at home, skill that you could apply to pursue something that you really enjoy, like a hobby.
Mm.
I look for more because I know there's always going to be something. Something can always happen.
Mm-hmm.
I like to be prepared for the random shifts and changes that end up happening in such a dynamic world. But I also don't want to put a limit on what I can do as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to just say, oh, I'm a biologist, I go home, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I could do this one thing. I could never imagine getting to that thing. I don't really see myself as being defined as just the biologist. I talked about this a little bit before. I think
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to just be the guy who does biology. I don't want to just be this employee who does this for this company. Of course, I'd love to build those connections in the industry and get to know people and things like that. But there's always something next. And that's what my uncle, who does his own, he's a sound engineer, he does his own business, he always meets people because he's always looking for the next thing.
Mm.
And that's one of the things he's kind of tried to instill in me as I've been growing up. Always look for the next thing. Always
Mm.
look to see what's going to happen. To try and have something that you can always have that's your own, just in case something happens with this other thing that you've
Mm-hmm.
known. And never, well, this is more what I've found. I don't want to be complacent just doing what I do, or
Yeah.
what I've known to do. I want to be ready in case all that goes away.
Mm-hmm.
Or if some accident were to happen, I can't anticipate myself just being unprepared for it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Things along those lines. I don't want to say that, oh, something happened in my hands or something happened in my legs. I've been crippled or disabled or something like that. I want to be able to be covered.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I get what you
Anyway,
mean. Uh-huh.
it's just something that comes from my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Have
Yeah.
something that's all my own.
Yeah. No, I get what you mean because you never want to, like, nothing is very secure. Like I said, your job, you always get laid off or replaced. Or even if you have a stable job, like you said, what if you break your leg, break your arm, can't go to work? Sorry, no money coming in.
Mm.
Recently I had my dad, actually like a few months ago, he suffered a heart attack.
I'm sorry to hear
And
that.
thankfully, yeah, no, thank you, I appreciate that. But now, thankfully, he's fully recovered. He's back to work now. But there was a large period of time for like 5 6 months where he wasn't able to work, and he was actually the biggest provider of our family. So during that time, for me, my brother, my mom, we had to work more to kind of supplement that. And that's when I really lived those ugly facts of nothing is very secure out there. You don't start something now, it's it's gonna catch you by surprise. You're not gonna be prepared for it. But what I really want you to do is really think deeper about what that looks like, on what exactly you plan to do, what exactly more it is, what is it defined as? Because something my mentor always tell me that if you're not crystal clear on where you're going, you're never gonna get there. Like for him, he works very logically. That he knows that his end goal is what? Financial freedom. Let's say for me, I want to buy my mom a house and retire her. But when I told him that, I didn't know how much that house costed, how much
Mm.
the down payment would be, how long would it be until I paid it off, how long will it be until I took care of all my mom's expenses, how long will it be until I took care of all of my expenses, how much money I need to make from my job, how much money I need to make from my side hustle. And when you look at it very logically like that, it's very easy to work backwards from there to understand what exactly you need to do, what exactly you need to achieve to earn that goal. But the problem is that most people don't have a goal. And what I mean by that is a very specific goal. Like I said, I could buy my mom $1 million home, which is one of my dreams. But if I'm still stuck to a 9 to 5 job, I don't have any time to spend with her there. Or I could buy myself a red Lamborghini, but the only place I'm gonna drive is to work and back home. I could have a nice Rolex watch, but I have no time for myself. So it really made me look at financial freedom in a different way, in the sense that I needed to be more clear, more specific on what I want. Because it's hard for me to envision, building a business, or not just building a business, but any type of asset. It's difficult. It takes time. There's been a lot of opportunities where I thought about quitting, or I thought about giving up. But what keeps me going is seeing that life ahead, how far I am,
Mm-hmm.
how close I am, what do I need to do to get there. And another thing is seeing that life that I have now. Seeing my mom come home tired from work, seeing my dad come home tired from work. They say that they're okay with it, they're fine with it, they're used to it, but I know that they're tired. They don't need to tell me. I can see it in their face. And they're not going to tell me. They're the provider. They're never going to admit something like that. So that's those things that really motivate me because, like I said, it's something that takes time. And when there's jobs, school, family, in your case, right? You're really gonna need to know where to prioritize your time. You know what I mean? But it's something that takes time to develop. I mean, obviously, like I said, after today, I want you to really think more deeper about what exactly you want out of not just your career, but your life. How do you want to live your life? Not what you want to do, but how do you want to live? Because when someone has a very clear goal, it's where I can really show them how this business can align with that goal and help them get there. But yeah, I know I was talking for a while. I just wanted to ask, do you have any questions, any thoughts on your mind at this point?
No. Right now I have, we say, what's the goal? I mean, I have an idea of,
Uh-huh.
I had one that I've kind of been mulling over as I've been going through college. It actually hit me one day when I was in
Uh-huh.
high school. Like, what is this? What does it mean to do this?
Mm.
Why can't I just go do writing right now?
Mm.
Or why can't I do this? I think, why don't I see myself pursuing this avenue or this avenue? But I've always thought about it similar terms to you,
Mm.
um, as far as financial, securing financial freedom, not just for myself, but for the people who made my
Uh-huh.
education possible. It's always just been this abstract thing of, I want to have this house, 3 bedrooms,
Uh-huh.
2 baths,
Nice.
upstairs and downstairs,
There you go.
couch, big TV in the living room, nice TV in the bedroom,
There you
the computer room, having the 2 dog, well, 1 dog, 1 cat. We already kind of talked about it, but I've always pictured my day going, I wake up, I get ready to write.
Uh-huh.
I'm all over some idea. I think about what kind of new thing I want to make for dinner that day.
Mm-hmm.
I want to relax and mull it over. Put the laptop down or whatever it is that I write on when I'm done.
Yeah.
Spend time with my wife. Plan our next vacation. I know she loves Disney.
Yeah.
Figure out how long it's going to take to get there.
Yeah. That's what it is. That's what it is. You know, most people, they say they want the house, but what does that house look like? Because I can tell that you've thought about it before. You at least have a picture in your mind of what that looks like. Most people don't even have that. So now you can see and ask yourself, how much will it cost for me to get there?
Yeah.
Right? To get that house, where is it going to be? How much is the down payment? You already said what? 3 rooms, 2 baths, cat, dog, big TV. Like, there you go. You can add that all to your expense. And then now, I know it'll take a long time. It'll take some thinking and some effort, but you'll be left with a grand number that you can look forward to. That you can see, okay, this is the down payment. This is the expenses my wife has, the expenses that I have. How long until I'm able to cover this? And you look at your job, you look at your career, it'll take care of some of it, but I can guarantee you it won't take care of all of it. Maybe it will by the time you're 50, 60, right?
But then where's it gone?
Yeah, exactly, right? So obviously, we want it a lot sooner, a lot faster, which is why, we can help with a side hustle, an asset, a business of any sort. I'm not even just talking about our business model or anything, but something on the side can definitely help you get there, and we want to show you that. So obviously, we're not going to go too much into it today. I know we've been here for kind of a while, but I can say, I enjoyed our conversation, Jarrod.
Likewise. Very nice.
Yeah, definitely. And I love to hear, your ambitions, the things that you're very interested in. And I love talking to like-minded people who are looking for. Like I said, here at SJSU, it's just parties, drinking, smoking, things like that. And it's just like, sure, I used to do those things too, but I'm focused on a much bigger goal right now. And I think after today, you were serious about wanting to learn more about what exactly our business model looks like and how it can align with your goals. I'd definitely love to set up another time to, meet up, talk with you again to kind of explain that a little bit further. But before that, another thing I wanted to let you know is, after hearing a little bit about your story, you actually remind me a lot about my mentor. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when he was in college, his goal, his dream was to be a teacher. Because his mom was a teacher, his dad was a teacher, he loved teaching, he wanted to be a teacher. But he understood that a teacher's salary was not going to get him anywhere. Wasn't going to retire him, retire his mom, do anything like that for him. So instead of pursuing teaching, he decided to start his own business, scale it up to the point where he could walk away from it and still have it making money. And then now he uses his free time to teach passionately. And that's, the part that really, I feel like really connected with you when you said wanting to wake up in the morning, start writing, start creating some new ideas. When someone else would have had that same thought and been like, oh, I want to pursue writing. I'm going to major in journalism or whatever it is, right? So, like I said, it's a different vehicle versus destination. But since you reminded me a lot about him, I want you to take a look at him as well. Like I said, he spends his free time educating people. He makes all of these videos and podcasts that help teach people about the entrepreneurial mindset, about financial literacy, about our business model and what to expect in a business partner. Different materials like that to help people like us with scaling up our business. I actually wanted to send out one of his videos to you. I mean, I know he has a lot of concepts and ideas that you should probably take notes on during that video. But most importantly, I want you to look at him. I want you to evaluate him, the way he speaks, what he promotes, what he talks about. And you want to ask yourself, do I agree with that? Do I resonate with that? Is this someone that I share similar values with? Because I can tell you right now that that's a person that kind of shaped me into who I am today, and I want you to kind of evaluate them for yourself. So if it sounds good, I can go ahead, or Chris can go ahead and send you one of his videos. Like I said, take some notes on it, have a quick reflection we can talk about, and next time, if whatever was said in the video resonates with you and you'd like to learn more, we can definitely set up a time to meet up again. How does that sound?
Sounds great to me. I'd love for
Sounds
him
good.
to send it over.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah. So we can definitely, Chris can set that up, send it to you. But other than that, I should be getting going. But like I said, it was great talking with you, Jarrod. Like I said, I always love talking to like-minded people, meeting new people, and this time was no different. All right. So
Thank you.
hope to connect with you soon. Maybe next time I'm in Fresno, I'll stop by. Right.
All right.
You ever in San Jose? Let me know some. But no, yeah, it was great talking with you. But I do gotta get going now. And hope you have a good rest of your day. All right.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Have a good one, brother.
You too.
For sure, for sure. No, yeah. Well, I mean, Tona kind of wrapped everything up there, but I mean, what'd you think about that, Jarrod?
That was pretty good. Pretty nice to hear. Always, trying to navigate this wild thing that we call the human experience
Right?
in whatever way that we can. Especially when you see people who are just in that position that you like to be in.
Exactly.
You want to learn, how do you achieve that? Does it look like a degree? Does it look like this? Does it look like that? And what's the cost of it? Whether it's monetary or time or something else.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And so there's got to be some kind of code to get through.
Exactly. Yeah, there's some type of a formula or some type of way to get there. Yeah. And no, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm really glad, that you're able to, kind of, want to come in here, obviously be open minded and want to, hear me and Tona out. But yeah, like Tona said, I actually like to send you that one video from our mentor. It's about like 50 minutes around there. But yeah, I actually wanted to ask you, Jarrod, if it would be okay if we can maybe like exchange contact information, because my LinkedIn, I do need to be more on it. I don't check it as much.
Yeah, I understand. It's weird. It's like a thing that's always there, but checking back to it is like almost a task in itself.
Yeah, it's almost like I gotta put it in my to do list just to check my LinkedIn every day.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I mean, only if you're comfortable with it. If not, then it's completely fine. I can
Oh,
send.
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me put. This is just a mobile number.
Likewise, I can drop mine in the chat too. There you go.
All right.
Okay, for sure. Let me. Okay, for sure. I think I got your number saved now. I can send you a message so you can save my number. There, I just sent you my name. Yeah, if you get that, Jarrod.
All right, I just put my name as a response.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Awesome. Yeah. No, yeah. So I can send you that video. And I kind of want to ask you, when do you think you maybe have that video done? I know you probably got some things going on as well, but kind of just want to get maybe like a little reference point.
Probably within the next 2 days,
Okay.
honestly.
Yeah, sounds awesome then. Sounds great. Cause yeah, watching the video is easy. It's like an hour long, but taking notes and trying to actually like learn from the video and like reflect on it is what probably takes a little bit longer. But yeah, I kind of just like to ask